There was a chill in the air. It made the branches brittle and barren, and whatever breath was taken left the lips as a thick and pale shroud. Through the gnarled oaks, on a path worn by wagons and travelers, a father and son tread lightly. The rain that had poured down the morning prior made the ground pliant and let paws and hooves dig deeper tracks. The two followed the hoof prints and stayed wary of the paw prints. The former was a good omen of the hunt, and the later something best to be avoided. "Do you think the wolves follow the same tracks?" the boy asked. "They have far better senses, no better than to trust their eyes," the father replied. "The wolves do better to stray from the beaten path. An open road like this bears them too much ill will. Every villager carries a rifle for safe passage, and the poachers hold them close." The father came to a halt and held out his arm as to protect the boy behind him. It is odd, though, that these tracks would appear on the road, and at such length. He pulled out his rifle and motioned for the son to prepare his as well. "Stay to my side, but behind me." They walked with caution from that point forward, and with good reason. Soon the gate of both tracks became wider, and not much longer the tracks became marked with blood. At the track's end there lay a doe, one which had had its neck ripped clean open. "A carcass," the father said as he neared by, "still fresh, and not even picked at." "It saves us a night of hunting, doesn't it?" the son propositioned. "It does, I suppose." The father said a small prayer for the spirit of the doe, and then slung it around his neck. They made their way back home through the chill, and thought very little of the wolf, who had not yet taken its prey. By the next morning the doe had been carved and prepared with salt, and each member of the boy's family had set to their daily chores. The father busied himself with shingling the roof. The mother was cleaning their quaint wooden house, and the son chopped firewood, which would be needed to make it through the cold nights. His younger sister, only a few months older than 6, sat on a nearby stone and watched him work. Her eyes and her nose barely stuck out from the wool cap and scarf. "Did you really kill a deer last night? A girl deer last night?" the sister asked. "It's a doe," the brother said, his fingers growing numb as they gripped the axe. "And the wolf killed it, not us." "Oh," the sister said. "Does that mean you stole it?" "You can't steal from a wolf," the brother said, rather annoyed. "But what if he comes back for his dinner?" "What if you leave me alone? I'm busy," the brother chided. The young sister left her in a puff, pulling her wool cap slightly over her eyes. The brother kept to his work for the next hour or so, until the sun began to creep behind the woods, and the sky turned orange and red. The brother would have walked home with his last armful of firewood, but when he called out for his sister, she was alarmed to find she was gone. The brother kicked up mud onto his pants as he ran through the dirt path of the wood. He could barely feel the wooden handle of his axe in his hands, though his arms were still heavy with its weight. He could find his sister, without his parents ever noting that she had wandered out from his sight. He just had to be quick, follow her shoe prints, and hope she hadn't had enough time to wander far. Her tracks went deep into the woods, though, and soon the only light that shone on the shoe prints was the pale glow of the moon. After a great deal of running, the brother stopped to catch his breath. As he doubled over in pain, he noticed something he wished he had rather not noticed. There was now a second print of footprints next to his sister's. His burning lungs and churning stomach would have to wait, he thought. Now he needed to run. He ran and ran. He ran as the moon grew bigger. He ran as the tracks grew farther and farther apart. He ran even as blood muddled the ground and stained his shoes. He ran until he found his sister sprawled out on the ground. "Hannelore," he called out. "Zachary," his sister whispered back in a pained voice. A rush of small relief ran over his grief-stricken body. Whatever shape his sister was in, at least she was still alive. When he reached Hannelore, he saw that only her leg had been bitten, and while a gash that deep was ominous, but she would certainly be fine. Sorry. Sorry. I shouldn't have ran off. It's going to be okay, Hannelore. I'm taking you home." The boy was about to set down his axe to pick up his sister until a growl came from the oaks. The boy gripped his axe as out from the trees strode a wolf with a silver coat. The coat was tinted blue in the moonlight and shone brilliantly as its yellow eyes fell upon the boy and stared coldly. Under the menace of the eyes, the boy stood motionless. His arms felt too weak to hold the axe, and so the weapon slid uselessly out of his fingers. The wolf drew closer. The boy tried to call out, but the wind was trapping in his lungs. At his feet, the sister stood just as still, bleeding out into the cracked earth. Then a shot rang out, and the branches flew off into the dark of night. The father ran towards the children, his rifle at the ready. His shot had grazed the wolf, though more fortunately it had sent it into the woods. The boy looked upon the wolf as it ran, and saw the moonlight glint off of it as it ran through the woods. The wolf, who had challenged him for the life of his sister, staring him dead in the eye, was now running away with only a scratch in its pelt. As the father ran past him and picked up the injured daughter, Zachary picked up his axe in his frostbitten hands and ran to the woods. He ignored the shouts and protests of his father, In a few moments he was too far away to hear them at all. In the thick of the woods, even the moonlight was held at bay. There was no light to be seen, save the glint of the wolf, guiding his way like the North Star. The light grew brighter and larger, and the boy knew the wolf had grown arrogant and stopped to nurse his wound. He would reach the wolf soon, and tear into it with his axe, one grand swing after another. The wolf would have not gotten the better of him. The wolf was leaning against an oak when Zachary charged at him. He cleaved its flank almost in half with one swing. There was a howl and a spurt of blood, and then only erratic shivers as the wolf's eyes firmly closed shut. And then, as if to spite the boy for a final time, the wolf left him there in the dead of night, lost in the woods. He panicked at first, not sure which way was which. His father, who called out for him as he gripped the dying daughter in his hands, grew more and more distraught. Should he look through the woods for his son, who was foolish enough to run after the wolf, or run home and save his daughter, whom was too innocent to bear any true blame? The father could not think straight in his grief, and so he left to tend to his daughter's bleeding wound, too late to save her life. The son, lost in the woods with all manner of beasts, may very well have shared her fate. So ends the story of the boy who chased the moon.